Are you messing? Like your brother or something?
No.
No.
I mean, possibly.
Yeah, nothing I know of.
But how do you know? That's how it actually works. Okay, so right, DNA testing. Okay, the question is, what is called knowledge? That's basically the discussion that Rabbi Dilber went into, and it's probably, I find it to be the most important point when you're having a discussion with anyone about anything ever, is you got to get down, like, what are we dealing with over here? What are the facts on the ground, right? So when you go to say, to take this, I'm going to forget as much. Hopefully I might forget. So the question is, what's called knowledge? What do you mean to know something, right? When we say, I know this, I know that, I know the other, what do you mean by knowledge? So knowledge, the way that he said, is beyond a reasonable doubt, right? That's what we call evidence, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm going to give another way of saying it. It's the same thing, but it's another way of saying it. When you have strong enough evidence that puts something into a realm where it's now reasonable to say that that's true. Y'all get it? So this is what we're talking about, reasonability here. This is just being reasonable. If you want to come up with, well, maybe, right, you can come up with a million maybes, right? The flying spaghetti monster, right? You can come up with whatever we want, but the question is probability versus possibility. Like, what makes more sense at any given time? And if something comes up later in the show that something makes more sense than what I'm saying, okay, then I have to look at that seriously. Instead, I have to be willing to look at that. Right? Now we do have to know the fact that we have both intellect and emotions. We're made up of both. Right? So even though we may see something is wrong, we might still go with it. And even though we see something is right, doesn't mean we're going to go with it. So it's not a fail-safe that if you get clarity that you're going to follow it. Right? So a lot of people think, well, if I'm not following it, then it must be it's not true. It's just because you're emotional. Right? There are a lot of things that we know are true, we don't do it. And a lot of people here, for example, know you should sleep more, you know you shouldn't eat certain things, you know you shouldn't be involved with certain ideas, but you do it anyway, okay? Enough about me. But you also might be doing this, right? And that's just the way that it works. So, we talk about the idea of knowledge, where we're trying to figure out over here, knowledge is based off when you have enough evidence and put something into it. Now that we understand what knowledge is, what knowledge is, and when you have enough evidence and put something into the realm, now we can start applying it. So when you have conversations that go on in colleges and universities in particular, the conversations are not based off knowledge, right? They're almost entirely based off emotions. So therefore you can't really have a conversation. People say, what do I do to go back to my campus and try to convince people, blah, 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 blah. The answer is, nobody cares about the facts. So if nobody cares about the facts, then there's no conversation. If there's no conversation, then what are you wasting your time, right? Now, yes, you have to go ahead and do our, what's called the shtablis, we can try to make sure that the world doesn't end up in some catastrophic, like it is now, experience, this situation. But the point is, the bottom line is that nobody wants the facts and there's nothing to do. All right, here we go. So that was class number 1. Is that clear? Is that totally clear? Class number 2. This is known as the 7 Wonders of Jewish History. Now, really, it's just a shtick, right? We have the 7 wonders of the world, 7 wonders of the ancient world, the modern world. So it's just a way to manipulate your brains into thinking like, wow, it's the 7 wonders of something. This is probably true. But there's like a million wonders, there's a billion wonders, there's amazing things that are going on. We're going to look at 7 things over here. And we're going to start with a little conversation that happened a couple of years ago. And by a couple, I mean a couple hundred. By a couple hundred, I mean more than that. It'd be nice if this worked, and God willing, whenever you're ready. Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for being here today. Hang on, let's try this. So we can maybe do the click thing. Okay. We had a, what the? No. This is not. Shemelech. Here we go. And restart.
You went back.
Yeah, no, I tried this. Okay, so a couple years ago, there was a conversation went on between 2 people, one by the name of King Louis XIV and the other one named Blaise Pascal. This is the 1600s, 17th century. King Louis was King Louis, he was a king, he was rocking that sucker, and he had a advisor by the name of Blaise Pascal. Now, Blaise Pascal, for those who are familiar a little with philosophy, will have heard of Pascal's wager, a little bit of math, you'll heard of Pascal's triangle, Pascal's theorem, right? There's mathematics involved. He was a Christian philosopher, mathematician, very much believed in God. Although King Louis was what's known as agnostic. Agnostic means, or technically means, I don't know. Maybe there's a God, maybe there's not a God. That's a valid type of thought process. Like, I don't know, because I'm just jumping into something. But I'm not saying that, as opposed to an atheist, right? An atheist would be someone who's quite foolish, would be someone who's quite unfamiliar with terminology. The word atheist, literally, what is the prefix A? What does that mean? Not, a negation of. What's theist?
Believer. In a higher power.
Right, so theist is connected to like theology, right? Known as, or a theist, talking about some sort of religion, some sort of God, right? So there is no God, there is no religion. To say that, you'd have to be everywhere in the world simultaneously, both physically and metaphysically, because right now God could be in Australia, right? God could be in New Zealand, just as an example. God, right? God could be in England, God can be in, where are you from?
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica? Pura vida? You're not from Costa Rica.
I live there.
You're not from, get out of here. Is it like New Jersey? Okay. Where are you from?
I grew up in LA, but I live in Costa
LA?
Rica.
Okay, LA works. Yeah, that's
LA.
no, let LA slide. We'll let that go. You look like an LA guy. You do. You look like an LA guy. Right? You go anywhere else, no? Where are you from?
New Jersey.
Oh, he's so sick of New Jersey. Anyway, so the point is that we talk about this concept. He says, like, I'm an atheist. No, he didn't say this. I'm agnostic. You can say, I haven't been shown enough evidence that has swayed me to go along with this. That's valid, that's fine. But you don't say, I know differently. I just like, whatever it is. Like, it just makes sense to me to go with that, right? Okay. So what happened? They would have conversations often. He would say, Louis would say, Pascal, how do you know there's a God? This is how you know. How do you know? This is how you know. How do you know? This is how you know. The final is like, one day is like enough. I want you to give me clear evidence of a supernatural force. He says, you want clear evidence of a supernatural force? He said, no problem. The Jews, Your Majesty. The Jews. Says a Christian philosopher to an agnostic king. The way that we know that there is a supernatural force is the fact that we have the Jews. Now that is a phenomenal statement, right? To say such a statement. What do they mean? What is supernatural about the Jewish people? What is it? What do you got? What's supernatural about us?
Everybody tries to kill us.
Space lasers.
Right, so there's a lot of them apparently. And one of them is the fact that we still exist. The fact that we exist today. They're trying to get rid of us time and time again. And it's crazy that 10 years ago they gave this presentation. It would mean something, but not as much as it means right now. Right? Growing as we're living, we're seeing anti-Semitism, we're seeing Iran literally trying to wipe us off the face of the earth. What do you got?
We're such a big deal, and yet we're such a small.
Yeah,
group.
we're so tiny, right? So I gotta get a hashtag on it, right? We're so small, but we're so big. Right? It's a crazy thing. Again, another fat joke. Okay, so that is supernatural. Let's take a look and understand this idea. There was someone named Mark Twain. Marky Marx is the following idea. The Egyptian, the Babylonian, the Persian rose, filled the planet with soundless splendor, and feeded the Jew stuff and passed away. The Greek and Roman followed, made a vast noise, and they are gone. Other people sprung up and held the church high for a time, and it burned down. They said, twilight or vanished. The Jews saw them all, beat them all. It is now what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no firmings of age, no weakening of his parts, no sullying of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. All things are mortal but the Jew. All of course is past, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? Now, that's a pretty heavy statement over there. Give me another quote from someone named Leo Tolstoy Nikolovich, another non-Jew. These are both non-Jews. Why do I say they're non-Jews? Because if I quote to you a Jew, you'd be like, oh, he's Jewish. It's a non-Jew? It's got to be true now. And it comes on Leo Tolstoy. The Jew is the emblem of eternity, who neither slaughter nor torture of thousands of years could destroy. He who neither fire nor sword nor physicians were able to wipe the face of the earth. He was the first to produce the oracle of God, and remained for so long in the garden of prophecy, and transmits to the rest of the world. Such a nation cannot be destroyed. The Jew is as everlasting as eternity. Yeah. The fact that we still exist, wow. No make a sense, as they say in Spanish. Right? The unbelievable concept, the fact that we still exist today. So what we're going to do is as follows, understand something. See, we got some book. We got a book. Yeah, we got a book. This book is called the Torah HaKadoshah. The Torah, the Holy Bible. If you don't know how to read. The Torah says it's amazing concept called the Torah. The question is, is the Torah divine? Did it come from some supernatural force? Or did it come from, some person and group of people, right? That's the question we're trying to figure out today. So there are many different opinions. Some people will say, it came from God, it came from the supernatural, that's for sure. And they can believe whatever they want. People get like, crazy, whatever you want. You want to believe it came from God? You do you. What I'm going to try to show you today is that this did not come from God. This whole thing is made up. A bunch of people got together and decided to go make a book, and really the whole thing is fake. Now don't leave yet. Don't leave. Let me just jump to the end. It came from God. The end. Good. But in the model I'm going to show you is I'm going to try to attempt to show you that it came from some people. You're going to clearly see that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to come out that it had to come from the supernatural. Is that clear, what I said so far?
Yeah.
Y'all get it? Yes and no. Does everybody get it?
Yeah.
Which does not get what I just said. When we're talking to say the model is, I'm going to show you it didn't come from God. You're going to say that doesn't make any sense. It had to come from supernatural. And that's going to end the class. Thanks for joining. All right, so let's take a look. I know that was mind-blowing. So let's begin. All right, we're going to be looking at a series of events. And we're going to start with the following. Being that the model is, I'm going to try to show you that it came from an individual. I'll be that individual. All right, so I want to just try to clear your mind from anything you know Jewish. Okay, that was quick. Okay, so now let's start. Gentlemen, thank you for coming this morning. I'd like to start a religion. I'd like to call it Judaism. Right? So one of you, of course, goes, well, why Judaism? You say, because I have a cat named Judaism. Back off, right? So I want to have this thing called Judaism, and we're going to have prophecies. Not just any prophecies. We're going to have wild and crazy prophecies. Because what's a religion without a prophecy, right? So we got to rock this sucker, and you'll be my committee, and you guys got to tell me if this makes sense, if we can get this off the ground. So let's start with my first prophecy. First prophecy, we are going to be an eternal nation. Is that a good sales pitch? Yes or no?
Yes.
Right? Everybody wants to survive and move on a legacy and be here and whatever. You're going to be part of an everlasting, eternal nation. Amazing. Now, where do you see me prophesize this? Well, in my book called the Torah. If you take a look, you'll see this is from, bring it closer, come on, Genesis chapter 17, verse 7. And I quote, "And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you throughout the generations, an eternal covenant to be your God and the God of the descendants after you." Good? Everybody guys, what does eternal mean? Forever. Yeah, forever. Always and always. Right, it's going to be that. Yeah? You're going to have an eternal covenant. We're going to be the eternal nation. Yeah. Look at this quote. Come on, lift it. If you look at Leviticus, it says the following. "Lest even while they are in the land of their enemies, I will not reject or obliterate them, lest they break my covenant with them by destroying them, for I am the Lord their God. I will remember them because of the covenant I made with their original ancestors when I brought them to the land of Egypt and the seven nations, so I might be their God." So you see, we're going to be an eternal nation. So far, so good. You see, the prophecy is there. It is prophesied that's going to be. Now, you guys, just by looking at you, I'm going to judge you and say that you look like you have enough life experience and perhaps you bought and sold things, maybe you're involved in some sort of business. What if I gave you a follow business venture? Okay? They say, listen, you give me $1 million and in 5 years I'm going to turn it into $3 million. Or make it easier. Give me $1 million in 3 years, I'll turn it into $5 million. Right? Are you in?
No.
Okay, anybody ever done business before?
Well, we've done enough to get fucked over many years.
Yeah. That's up to you. Which you know, I'm not sure he's talking about intimate relationships. Right? You can do what you gotta do. But what do you say?
Where's the business plan?
What?
Where's the business plan?
Okay, good. So whoever said no, you should probably get out of business. Whoever said yes, you should probably get out of business. Whoever said show me your plan. Now we're talking. In other words, let me hear what you have to say. I'm not going to say no off the bat, right? It's not even so crazy. Well, you've never heard of somebody who's turned $1 million into $5 million in 3 years? It's not that. If I told you $1 million to $1 trillion, okay, I would hear you. If I give you something which is relatively feasible, it's done every day, it's been done, so why not? What's your plan? So I have a plan. We're going to be an eternal nation. Well, how am I going to make that happen? Well, let's take a look and see. You see, 95% of wars are fought over what?
Water.
Land.
Land is correct. Never heard of that before, but I do believe that there are wars over water, but I believe only maybe a few. But land is usually, I think they made a movie, Kevin Costner tried to make a movie called Waterworld, and it kind of flopped like crazy. Yeah.
That's a good movie.
You know it flopped like a bit, they lost
I know.
millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions. Anyway, so here's the deal. You know, people have their eternal national homeland. We'll have, bless you, we'll have our eternal national homeland, and we'll never leave that land. Bless you again. Is that a good beginning of an answer of how we're going to survive? In other words, are we more likely to survive if we're kicked off our land, or are we more likely to survive if we stay on our land? Stay on our land, okay. Like we said, what happens to most people when they leave their land? They assimilate, or they're destroyed, or they're knocked out, it's over. But you stay on our land, we'll be there. So how am I going to make sure we're going to be an eternal nation? Well, a good follow-up to eternal nation would be that we're always going to stay on our land, which is why my next prophecy clearly is that we are going to be exiled and dispersed. Good plan?
Very.
Yes or no, people? Good plan?
Nice.
Good plan?
On paper, maybe not. But
On paper, it's a good plan.
no, maybe not. On
Maybe
paper,
not on
but
paper.
in practice.
In practice,
possibly.
it's a good plan.
Yeah. It's like a hero journey.
No, it's
As we all say,
we need unity.
united we fall, divided we stand. Wait a minute, that's not the phrase. In which case, what happened to every other people that were chucked and exiled and dispersed? They're finished. That's what they're telling me. That must be something. They're done. They're out, right? So let's take a look and see. Just a little bit of a little short little places that we've been chucked from. We take a look. We've been chucked from France, and then we got France again, and I think France again, and we get France, and finally Arab lands. If you look and you search, then you will find it. We've been chucked time after time. But God will be waiting over and over. We're chucked all over the world. And where do we find this is actually prophesied? We'll take a look at my book again that I made up. It says the following. And you will scatter among the nations at the point where I draw a sword, leaving your country desolate and your cities in ruins. Or again, it says, I appoint heaven and earth as witnesses for you today. You will be cut off quickly from the land you are crossing the Jordan to acquire. You shall not remain there long, for you shall be wiped out. God shall scatter you among the peoples. You will be left few in number among the nations where God will lead you. Well, so clearly we didn't necessarily follow the plan of survival, right? This is a pretty silly idea that we're going to be exiled and dispersed. I think that if this would be a real discussion, you'd really be my committee, we would call that strike number one. In other words, like this is not working. I say, no, guys, don't worry, I have another plan, okay, I have another idea. Even though we'll be exiled and dispersed, we can still survive. So how are we going to survive? Well, very simple. Who's English? Where are English people? Where you at? Yeah, there was a band in the maybe you're familiar with the band, they were called the Beatles. So the Beatles had a song, a very famous song. You know them, Beatles? Right, so the very famous song. And that is, all you need is love. Ba, ba, da, da, da. Right, so the Beatles said, that all you need, Beatles, all they said is, all you need is a little bit of love. So let's take a look and see. Even before we get to love, that's another thing I just realized I have to say. Maybe there's another methodology for survival. What do you got?
Can you go back to the text real quick?
To where? To the text?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it says there, and you shall be wiped out. So why are we not?
Probably from the land.
Wiped out from the land?
Yeah, the actual little definition, if you look on top, I tested it for you today, it's my fire, it's the heavens and the earth. He avod tovedun maher me'al ha'aretz, to be wiped out from the land. Which means you're not going to do that anymore. Yeah, I want to tell you it's crazy. So, like when you think something, usually it brings it to life. It's a concept like that. I was literally thinking, I hope nobody says why they're gonna misunderstand me. And that's what happens. No, it's okay. It's me. It's not you. It could be friends. It's like 8th grade breakup. Yeah, what do you got?
All these prophecies where it's a consequence of if the children of Israel don't do what they're supposed to do in the land.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So doesn't he say, and you will break my covenant?
I don't know. Is this a Christian thing?
He says, like, you're going to be wiped out from this land if you do these things, but then also in the Torah it says, and you're going to do these things.
Show me.
Okay.
Bring it. Yeah. Ask us, sir. I'll check it with you. Let me know what it says. Yeah, what do you got?
So, just talking about how we have managed to stick together throughout exile, you could say that the
What you're about to say right now, just
Yeah.
before you start, remember, there's possibility versus probability.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for a theory. There are tens of theories we can come up with. I'm asking is what's most probable. Is what you're about to say
Okay.
called probable? Or is it a theory?
Well, I was about to say that religion is designed to sort of isolate us as a nation. We don't eat the same foods as everyone else. We don't marry out. We don't, do so many things which.
Right, so what would happen, let's play that out. And what if we did do that? Then you would imagine we'd be wiped out. How are we doing in the world today?
We here?
Give me the percentage of Jews that are religious that are following that. And according to
But
that, they
that's
should be
not.
done. It should be
That's
over.
we will never do.
It should, but according to this, it should be finished, right? It should be done. Should be wiped out.
There's such a small number.
Now you just made it into like 1 million people, right? So then it's much easier to destroy all that. Process, let's keep going, right? We'll come back. Right, so now we find the following idea. And that is that clearly this didn't work, strike number one. But I have a plan. Before we get to love. I skipped one step. Before we get to love, that is, let's take a look at other people who've been around for a very long time, and maybe we could use their methods of survival. India, China, Japan, been around for many centuries, holding on to their culture strong, being involved with it. So maybe we use the same methodology as China, India, and Japan. Let's start with Japan. How did Japan survive for so long? How did they survive? The answer is Japan is in the middle of
Nowhere.
Japan, right? So the person wants to, go ahead and survive. Let's say they go and they say like, yeah, I'm going to be like Japan, make myself in the middle of nowhere, and then I'm going to survive. Okay, so we'll do the same thing. Let's make our land just like Japan in the middle of nowhere. You know that the Mongols tried twice in the 16th century to go and overcome Japan. They had typhoons, monsoons, knocked out the whole fleet. It's just too far to get there, especially if it was there was no air travel, right? So it was all by land and by water. There's no land, there's only water, and it's quite the distance. So maybe we'll do the same thing. And we're going to put our land also in the middle of everywhere. Right? And that's what we have known as the Middle East. We are located right in the middle. You know that in order to we are a land bridge between three different continents, Africa, Asia, Europe. You want to get there? You go through Israel. It's a pretty crazy concept. Israel, Yerushalayim, the city we're in right now, most conquered city in the world. Been conquered in upwards of 36 times. Anybody went to the tunnel tours ever? You been to the tunnel tours?
Yeah,
So you see outside. You went already? Or you go? You're going? Yeah, so you go. You see outside.
It's only the most conquered city in the world because of the religious significance.
Say it again?
It's only the most conquered city in the world because of the religious significance.
Okay.
You made a point that it is the most common city in the world because it's in the middle of the earth.
No,
I'm saying it's because of the religion.
all I said is that two statements here. Number one is that the landers, to whatever, we clearly didn't go hide in a corner. That's number one. And then the other one is it's the most conquered city in the world, right? So we have over here. By the way, I'm with you. I respect trying to knock things out, but I'm sensing for the sake of knocking it out and not for the sake of truth. So what I'm saying is you have
I'm
to.
doing it for the sake of truth.
Okay, as long as we're saying the truth, then we're good. But if it's for the sake
It's
of.
not from a cynic.
No, it is. It was saying, I've had a lot of experience with English and a lot of contrarianism that goes on. So it's basically anything I said, you can say the opposite. I had a group that came up 15 years ago. There was a group. There was a kid named Jason. I'll say it straight out. This is like so long ago. I hope you're not Jason. But I mean, maybe you are. You know who you are. You look great.
I believe in God.
But this guy Jason, no matter what I said, he said the opposite. Doesn't matter. Everything. I was like, the Jews are good. I was like, Jews are bad. I'm like, you know what? Jews are bad. He said, Jews are good. And then in the beginning, like everyone was against me, like they were with him. And then they start to see, bro, you just said literally the opposite, right? So if you're trying to get truth, I'm good. But if it's just to come up with theory, then like, okay, so save it for the end, and we can have a nice little fight. All right, but in the meantime, we find the concept is that, but again, don't stop. I'm from New York. I'm good for a good fight. I like it. But let's make sure, like remove any sort of, it should be cynical and any sort of negativity. It's for the sake of, let me figure this out. Let's do it. Bring it out. By the way, that's what I would have given in the beginning. If I give the intro, I can give the intro. But the two rules of the intro for me are cynical versus skeptical. And there's a fine line between the two. You can be skeptical, you should be skeptical, you shouldn't just accept things. But if you're cynical, then it's game over. I'm not having a discussion with anyone because you already decided something, right? There's no answer to an answer. There's only answer to a question, right? The other one is possibility versus probability, which is just right now. If we're going to come with another theory, it's just, does that make more sense than the current one? If it does, great. If it doesn't, then yeah, put it in the book of theories, right? Right, so anyway, the following concept. That is the most conquered. We clearly didn't follow Japan's methodology for survival. That's what I'm pointing out. What about India and China? How did India and China survive for so long? Right, so we could say, well, location, different, barriers of sorts, just like the USSR is a very big country, we never fell, but it did. Right, so what would be another reason why they could survive for so long? And that would be simply, there's a ton of people there.
Yes.
And by ton, I mean many tons, many tons of tons, right? There's just so many people, right? And that's why we're going to use the same methodology of India and China to make sure you don't conquer us. We are going to be just so few in number. Does few in number help us for survival?
No.
Right? Now again, you can go with, well, if it's too few, you can't find us, right? And so that's true, but at the same time, how can you go put that as an ideal? Yeah, we got.
I suggest a challenge or just like ask a question.
I like the intro. In other words, let's fight. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to understand this. There are two times in Genesis where God tells Abraham that your descendants will be numerous. He says in Genesis chapter 15, verse 5, look toward heaven and the number of the stars. If you are able to number them, so shall be your offspring.
Yeah.
In Genesis chapter 22, verse 17,
Yeah.
I will surely bless you and I will surely multiply your descendants as the stars of heaven and as the sand that is on the seashore.
Yeah. Well, what's the point? We're going to be a lot?
Yeah.
That's a very good question. Hold off about a minute and a half. Take a look at this. So we see the following idea. We're going to be few in number. Hold that thought. Ready? Here we go. As we say right now, I said 1.5 minutes. That wasn't accurate. It's about 20 seconds. It's about 20 seconds. And you shall remain few in number among the nations where God shall lead you.
Yeah, I understand that.
But hold on 1 second. Doesn't it say that we're going to be like the stars in the heavens? Deuteronomy 28:62. You shall remain few in number, whereas you could have become as numerous as the stars in the heavens because you would not obey the voice of the Lord your God. This is not separate books. This is one book. All right, so we have it as follows. The statement of what was said over there is a contingent statement. The contingency is depending on, like our English friend said, your behavior. You behave a certain way, you're going to be big. If not, you're going to be small. But you're going to be an eternal nation. You're always going to be here. You're never going to get destroyed entirely. The question is whether you'll wane or you'll wax like the moon. You'll be bigger, you'll be smaller. At the end of the day, you're going to be here. Excellent point. Great response. Weiter. Right? So now we have the following idea, and that is, okay, it's a little strange if you think about it. We're going to be few in number. The first mitzvah of the Torah is be fruitful and multiply. Have lots of kids. I want to be clear for people who get confused. It means with your spouse. So, fruitful. Some people are like, I'm on a mission to spread my seed. LA and now Costa Rica. Pura vida. Fine. So fine. You have the average secular couple has between 1.2 kids and a dog, right? I know you're wondering where's the 0.2. Fine. The average ultra-Orthodox family has between 15 and 45 children. That being the case, okay, fine, let's make that that one. So we have a lot. And we take a look, you look at that, we're Asian people, we have a high birth rate, we should have tons of Jews. How many Jews do we actually have? And this, yes, depending on this prophecies is what's going on over here. We should simply have many, many. But how many do we have? Take a look at this. There was, in the years 200 BCE, there was a census done that the population of China was about 30 million. Today, that's not accurate, it's 1.8 billion. That's a typo. About 1.8 billion, close to 2 billion Chinese. It is estimated, historians say that near 1 CE, we're between 6 and 8 million Jews. If we took the same growth rate as China, you don't have to, I'm just saying, even if you were to take just that with all the euthanasia, if we took the same growth rate, we should be somewhere between 250 and 750 million. Just like as time goes on, exponential growth. This is what happens, right? One person has a kid, that person has 2, 2 has 4, 4 has 8, and then it builds. And over a period of 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 years, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, we should have many, many, many hundreds of millions of people. Look at the population of the world versus where it is, what it was, what it is today. It grows. This is why we have certain people that are very rich. I don't want to say who, like Schmill, Nates, and Oros. What are people in the world that are trying? I'm not saying random names. I'm not saying real names. I'm saying that are trying to basically kill off populations to make sure we don't have too many population. Right? Fine. Point is that maybe we have to be careful with that one. They won't come after you. Or me. I believe fine. I wish I have somewhere around a good, healthy 400 million Jews. But how many Jews do we have in the world today? That little line on the bottom, about 14 million Jews. Let's take a look at this from a pie chart, because let's face it, we all love pie. That would be China, that would be India, and those are the Jews. Right? That's why every Jewish woman says, can I get a little slice? Can I just get a little slice? Just a little slice. So you cut her a little slice, she takes the rest of the cake and she walks away. It's like enough about my family. What we're saying is, this is where we are few in number. Is that going to help me for longevity? The answer is strike number 2. But don't worry, I have a plan, then that's the miraculous. And that is all you need is love. That's what my next prophecy is, that the entire world is going to hate us. Right, that's a good method for survival. Now, yes, you could say that keeps us together and separate and whatever. That's true. It does. It certainly helps keeping us together and separate. At the same time, it also helps in making us extinct. Right? So let's take a look and see where we find this actually prophesized. What do you got?
Well, just like thinking about historically humans living in bands of, maybe 200 to 500 people per group, right? And that was a more successful model than maybe what we see today in the United States, where we have 350 million people trying to be governed under one system. So I guess the possible perspective is like actually maybe having a smaller group is beneficial.
Right. So that's a good theory. What happened? We'll just keep going in history. What happened to those people?
They joined larger people groups.
Why? Why did they join larger people? Stay small.
Survival, right?
Why survival? Surviving smaller. Oh, right, because they're being killed out. The smaller you are, the more you die. I mean, the larger you are, the more you die. Either way, the ending is we die. Right? The point is, how long can we stay here? Right? That's essentially the goal that we're saying over here. Let's take a look and see anti-Semitism. I tend to guess. And those of you who survive in the land of your enemies, that shall make so faint-hearted that it leaves also behind them, they'll flee headlong as if from the sword, and no one pursues them. Stumbling over one another as if to escape a weapon, we're always after them. So helpless you be to take a stand against our foes, you shall perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies shall consume you. A lovely bedtime story. Right, or another quote over here. This basically gets the same point. Among those nations, you'll find no rest for your foot. But by the way, this is this week's portion. This is what we're reading this Shabbat, and also this Shabbos, same holiday. Right, you're going to find no rest for your foot. There, God will make you cowardly, destroying your outlook. You'll be terrified, never showing your existence. In the morning, you'll say, if only were night. In the evening, you'll say, if only were morning. Such will be the dread that your heart will feel and the sight that your eyes will see. Right, this is coming from what? Because they love us? Maybe a little bit not. If you want to know the most openly, straight-out concept that comes to anti-Semitism, there's a statement made in the Talmud. The Gemara in Shabbos, page Peites, 89a. If you look at the very bottom of the page, it says the following. For those who speak Hebrew/Aramaic, stay with me. For those who don't, pretend like you're with me. Here we go. Says the Gemara, My Har Sinai. What is Mount Sinai? What the Gemara is coming to explain over here is why is it called that? Why is it called Mount Sinai? Says the Gemara, Har Sheyarda Sina La'akum. It is the mountain that came upon it hatred to the nations of the world. People look at Har Sinai, Mount Sinai, a special, nice place. The answer is Har Sinai means mountain of hatred. Yeah.
Why is it spelled different?
Oh, I was waiting. Good for you. What's the answer? Let's go back, literally 45 seconds. Lean that there. Maybe not literally, so we check. Let's go approximately 45 seconds ago. I said, for those of you who speak blank, stay with me now. What I say? Aramaic, very good. The word for hatred in Aramaic is Sinai. That is the word. So you can pull a reverse move if the sounds are similar. Okay, that's nice. But it's actually Aramaic. And if you take a look, open up any Chumash outside, find the word sin, and you're going to find a form of a samach as opposed to a sin. All right, so we're hated. Thank you for asking. Very good. So we're going to be hated from a very inception. We're hated from the very beginning. And it's pretty crazy the hatred that we experience. Because, I mean, think about it. If you hate black people,
Why are you doing that?
well, that took a turn. This is the wrong presentation.
Joined by.
Join our group! Right. If you hate black people, what are you called?
Racist.
A racist. Now, even if it's not accurate most of this, I love it. It's a good picture. Make sure you get Dylan in it. That's what's smart. If you hate black people, you're called a racist. If you hate white people, you're called a racist. If you hate Arabs, you're called a racist. Islamophobe, no, Islamophobe means fear of. If you hate Asians, you're called a racist. If you hate Jews, you're called an anti-Semite. Isn't that nice? We have our own special word.
Unique.
What is that? What is anti-Semitism? Well, anti-Semitism is anti-Semitism, anti-noun, discrimination against or prejudice or hostility toward Jews. Now, there's always someone who's a little bit intelligent in the group and quite able to understand one thing for the next, but they're clever but lacking certain information. And that is that if you work on, if anybody's involved with or familiar or a fan of etymology, that'll be the root and understanding of origin of words. When you break down the word, let's understand where it comes from. Anti-Semitism and anti-Semite, or those in Hebrew, it's called anti-Shemiyut, means something who's against shame. Not as in shame. But it's a different kind of shame, and that is that Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Cham, and Yafes. Shem is the one who brought about the Jewish people. The Jews come from Shem. So if you're anti-Shem, means you're anti-Jew. Who else came from Shem?
Ishmael.
The Arabs. So if you hate an Arab, you should be called an anti-Semite. So it's not just Jews. That's good, and you'd be right etymologically, you're just wrong historically. And that is that this word is a made-up word from someone with the name of Wilhelm Marr, who was a German journalist in 1879. He said there's such a hatred towards the Jews, it needs a name, and he coined the phrase anti-Semitism. So although you're right, the word should work like that, it wasn't made like that. And there's actually many words that are made specifically for Jews. The first time the word ghetto was used. Someone's like, no, I'm from a ghetto. Really? You wear like a gold star and like you're locked in there with no food and disease? It's like, what? Genocide, Holocaust, like all these words, and many often coming, pogrom. First time, Jews, money. But anyway, point is that we find that the Jewish people, a lawyer, we find that Jewish people were hated from the very beginning, which is pretty crazy. And it's actually quite unique, the hatred about the Jewish people. Universality, intentional, longevity, rationality. Where around the world are the Jewish people hated?
Everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
It's like, no, I went to a place and they didn't hate that.
Fine. Okay, we got intensity. How much did they hate us? Okay,
lot.
as much as the black box. That would be. There's going to be a mistake in that one also. How much they hate us? I hate my neighbor. You know, the thing we go like egg their house, cut their phone lines. How many people say, "I have a plan. Let's kill them and their whole extended family"? Bro, chill. You know what I mean? Like, tranquilo. Am I right or am I right? Right. So take a look at longevity. How long have we been hated? Since the Twilight Zone. Right, it's the very exception, and last but not least, the rationality. If you would ask, you know, somebody over here, you know, bring this, you can just throw that over there. Now, if you were to go ahead and ask someone why you hate the Jews, you can ask either one person twice, and every generation blames a Jew before. We're the scapegoat for everything. You know why we hate the Jews? Because they're rich, because they're poor, because they're beautiful, because they're ugly. Different than say powerful. Weak, dominant, passive. Religious fellows, social capitalists, charismatic, conservative, radical, religious fanatics, those atheists. There's no logic involved. It's just dislike of the unlike. We're just hated. And from a Torah perspective, that's called Esav Sons Yaakov. We're going to be hated. It happens to be there is some literature that discusses that God had intentionally planned this concept in order for us to stick together. Right? Because what happens is if we're not hated, and you take a look historically, what happens? I have a neighbor who's not religious, and it's set to be a fascinating idea. Just the other day, I mean, I've heard this, but coming from him, it was nice to see it from us. Just think, he said, you know, I was looking through Bereshit. Right? He said, it's like interesting. This guy, I'm not sure what his deal is exactly, but my kids think he's a CIA operative. So he said, I was looking through, and you look through historically Jews, we always rose to the top. We always rose to the top, everywhere. You look historically, we've always been either the actual king, or the advisor to the king, or the treasurer of the king, or you always were involved with kings. You know, it's a crazy concept. And at the peak of our suddenly, there was some pogrom, right? There was some libel, right? There was something that happened that destroyed us. What's going on over here? So maybe that's a fail-safe to check, you know, to make sure that we stay as Jews. Because if we were to really do well, then nothing would happen, then we would just assimilate and be finished. Therefore, God makes it that there's going to be something going on over there. Okay, but that's also working in the world that we are believing in God, right? So that we already accept that concept. Fine. Point is that we are hated is a crazy concept, and I want to say that this is the Jewish people. I think you'd understand, but I think the number one study ever done on anti-Semitism was by Professor Cohen. Maybe some of you know his work. He had much work in the last 10 years going back. Anyone not know who this is? Just by the show of hands. Okay, I guess there's no hope for humanity. I guess you all know this is Sacha Baron Cohen, a friend of yours from London. And he goes to your shul. Yeah, so you know, I usually ask, does he go to your shul? And this is the first time I didn't ask. And like, yeah, you're messing me up everywhere, right? You know, try. So Sacha Baron Cohen is a Jew from London. And he became, you know, many split personality disorders, and much of his work is anti-Semitic, right? A lot of Jews, like jokes made fun of Jews and things like that. The question is, why would he do it? Why would he do it? So there's actually two reasons why he would do it. One is he makes a lot of money. He makes a ton of money doing it. There's another reason. Anyone know why he started what he did when he started?
Exposure.
He actually started as a project, or I should say, project of university. He was in uni. And his grandfather survived a little place called Auschwitz. His grandfather was an Auschwitz survivor. And he wanted to show the world that even if people don't know what a Jew is, they're still going to hate them. That's when he came out with his hit single. Throw the Jew down the well, right? So he comes and he starts singing the song in a bar in some town in Arizona, I think in Tucson or whatever. He gets up and he's like, in my country there's problem, and the problem is the Jew. You know, throw the Jew down the well. It was like, throw the Jew down the well. So my country can be free, so his country can be free. We must grab them by their horns, and then we'll have a big party. Imagine he got up there and said, throw the midget down the well. Everyone would be like, oh my goodness, vertically challenged. How dare you? That's disgusting. Oh, it's Jews? Oh, we're cool. Right? We're hated by everyone, all over the place, no matter what it is. So yeah, that's a good plan for survival. Strike number 3. You all get it? We're not looking too good. If I'm really trying to make this up and get it off the ground, first of all, how can I even prophesize and get these things actually to come about? And if I'm going to be doing that, what's the likelihood of it being survival? This is less than more, yeah.
I just think, I don't know, maybe it's just my personal thing, the experience, but I've experienced, yeah, like there's like jokes about it, but like when there's like somebody says like something bad about it, just like, hey, you can't say that. You still can't, like, yes, it's universal, you can joke about it, whatever it is, but when it really comes down to it, you can't really say. Like it's the same thing with image, same thing with black person, whatever it is.
Are you familiar? Where are you from?
Connecticut.
Are you at all familiar with current events?
Yes.
Are you from like a small town?
Yeah.
You know, the internet. You're like, what are you talking about?
But nobody goes up to me and
It's like a
says,
snowflake. You remind me like you're from California.
let's
That's why I left.
but I just think, I don't know, maybe I'm
You're in the
stupid.
world of theory. You're not stupid. You're in the world of theory. In the world of. I'm going to say this in the nicest of ways. You're blind to the reality. And what I mean by that is, it's dangerous. It's like, no. You're the Jew who says like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's not a gas chamber. We never do that. It's really a shower. You should like pay attention to the world. And I couldn't have told this to you 10 years ago. Because you'd be like, nah, don't be ridiculous. That was it. Do you know what's happening around the world? It's insane. Who's from Canada? Any Canadians? Anybody saw what happened in Montreal a month and a half ago? Montreal.
Oh, they beat up this guy beat up.
There's a religious guy, a Hasidic guy, walking with his dog in the street, unprovoked. This I don't know if the Arab or what he was, came over, started beating the crap out of him, threw him down on the floor, beat him up. Hold on, wait till the end, and they beat him like mercilessly. The daughter was like, "No, get up, whatever." I walked away, took his yarmulke, and threw it into like a pond. They caught the guy. The guy went to court, and the judge said it was hot that day. It was hot. So like, he wasn't in his right senses. It's okay. And they let him off. Do you understand what's going on? The highest levels of justice. It's like, what? You're part of that small group that's like, hey guys, that's not nice.
I agree, like, it's not good what's happening, but I also think it's similar to what's happened to black people in America throughout history, what happened to the Japanese during World War II, when, the war was going on. Like, I just think like it's cause and effect, right? Like when there's a war going on.
I don't think you're a really nice guy. And I think that you're from Connecticut. I'm happy to continue it afterwards, but he's going to take this a little bit of yes, okay?
As long as you need.
Fine, so it did 10 minutes hopefully. So here's the deal. I wish I felt how you felt. In other words, he's just living in reality. Just like looking and seeing what's going on. I'm not saying there aren't bad things happen to other people. Of course there are bad things happen to other people. That's also true. But it doesn't stop what's happening over here. And that's it. Yeah, what do you got?
I'm not trying to disprove you.
Yes.
Or argue against you, but
Good job.
but you could say that a lot of anti-Semitism started with Christians, and they made these libels against the Jews for whatever motivation. There were many motivations, and obviously Christianity is spreading also. Islam, whatever.
Okay.
Everything spreads. You could say that a lot of people have heard about these libels, have heard these negative things about the Jews.
Get to the end, therefore.
Therefore, there exists a lot of this anti-Semitism.
Okay, so now you've given an explanation, fine, and therefore, it's still here, right?
Yeah.
Nothing's
But my
changed.
suggestion is.
So it came through A, it came through B, it came through C. The bottom line is it's there.
I understand it's still there. My
Right.
suggestion is
Yeah.
potentially that could have been a way, basically, the root of that could have been the Christians for whatever reason. And yeah, so
That's everything you just said could be true, but you didn't say anything. In other words, nothing happened. Yes, that's true, and then we have it. So there it is. Whoop, there it is. So you explained why it's there and how it's there. Okay, but it's there. Prophecies, it's going to happen. Prophecies, it's going to happen through A, B, or C. It's going to happen. Happen through spreading. Happen through forming. The bottom line is it's there. Pretty crazy concept. And by the way, it would be interesting if it was just that, right? But I believe that the anti-Semitism was around before Christianity existed, right? In a pretty global scale. There was I was once sitting on a train, and this woman came over to me, this Christian. She goes, "You killed my God." I said, "Imagine what I can do to you." That actually never happened, but I wish that happened. That would be great. Okay, fine. The point is, it also never happened that we killed their God. That was a little history. That's actually never happened, right? This is not the storyline. And it's actually documented. The Roman, it's crazy, the whole thing. Fine. Here we go. Now, what would you expect from the people if it were to be true? Exiled, dispersed, few in number, and hated by everyone. Would you expect survival? Yes or no? No. Number one, we wouldn't expect survival. And how could you, first of all, even predict it? I wouldn't expect survival. And if there'd be survival, it would be crawling along the floor, bleeding from every crevice, waiting to get kicked in the head again. But then we have the next one, and that is, we're going to be a light into the nations. We are going to impact the world in an incredible way. That doesn't make any sense. Let's take a look and see. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. You will become a blessing. I will bless those that bless you and curse those that curse you. Through you, all the communities of the earth shall be blessed. We're going to be the source of all that. Or another one says straight up in Isaiah, I, the Lord, have called you in righteousness and hold your hand and keep you. I will establish the covenant for the people for a light unto the nations. Or then the most accurate straight up is, nations to them go by their light and kings by your radiant illumination. We are going to be the light. I want to tell you something crazy. There was I don't know if you said you're from Jersey. Which area?
North
City?
Montclair.
Montclair it's called. Anyone else from Jersey? There's a place in Jersey called Teaneck. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Teaneck, New Jersey. And it's it's close to you.
Yeah.
10 minutes or 20 minute drive. What do we got?
25.
25 minutes drive. It's Spencer's drive. Anyway, so in New Jersey, you can like speed a little, I think. So you have this guy. I was there in a shul once. So I was there for a Shabbos, and the rabbi got to speak, and it was right after there was a shooting in a shul in Pittsburgh. Do you guys remember this?
Yeah.
It was a shul in Pittsburgh. So there was a lot of high security going on in like different shuls around the country. And the SWAT team called up the rabbi of the shul that I was at. I don't know the name of the shul. I think it's called the Romer shul, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's on the street called Romer, whatever. And the shul there is not a normal square. It's like, it's got like a circle and it comes up and then it like cuts this way and that way. It's this whole design. So the SWAT team called the rabbi and asked if he minds if we were to train for a crisis scenario on the roof of your shul. They want to repel, they want to go break in, they want to like do different things because of this threat. Their synagogue was such a complicated one. They wanted to work on that and make everything much easier, right? So the rabbi said, "No, SWAT team." And then they got a new rabbi because he was eliminated. So so he said, "No problem, they can do it." And he said, one rule is, he said, "I'm willing to give you guys food, I'll feed you." He said, "No, we'll bring our own food." He said, "One rule, you can't bring your food into the synagogue, right? Because they're going to bring in like pig and whatever it is, Jesus and the whole thing." Fine. So they said, they were training. At the end, the head of the FBI, the unit, whatever it was, the bombsman, he came to the rabbi and said, "Rabbi, we know you're going through tough times or whatever it is. We really want to be able to help you. Can you give me a blessing?" So I heard him say this in the shul. He said, "When I went to rabbinical school, there was no blessing for the FBI bomb squad. Like I didn't learn that blessing. What blessing am I supposed to give him?" So he said, like he gave them. He said, "Listen, this is the blessing I'm going to give you. I'll make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. You will become a blessing. I will bless those that bless you and curse those who curse you. Through all the communities of the earth shall be blessed." And that is that the Lord said to Abraham, that those who bless the Jewish people will themselves be blessed. So the blessing I can give you is really you gave to yourself. You're willing to protect us, take care of us, then God is going to bless you and take care of you. This is the blessing that he gave him. It was a phenomenal thought. I would be like, "Bless you," Gesundheit. That's exactly like what to say to God. But the point is, we're going to be a light into the nations. And you try to think about that for a second. Have the Jewish people impacted the world? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
And take a look at a small sample. Top left, who's that? Albert Einstein. I think he was Jewish. I think he impacted the world somewhat. What's that little phone there in the middle? A kosher phone. Okay, that's called a cell phone. Right? Cell phone technology created by Jews, Israelis. What's that coin over there, bottom right? That's the Nobel Prize. The Jewish people are less than 0.25% of the world population, but won more than 25% of Nobel Prize winners. That's not normal. If anyone understands numbers, that makes no sense. You understand? You take all percent of the Jewish people of the world, we're less than 1%, less than 0.25%, but 25% of Nobel Prize winnings, unbelievable kinds of them. What's that little car there? Waze, created by a Jew. Under that, Facebook, created by a Jew. Right? So we've impacted the world by crazy amounts. But is that what we mean when we say you're going to be a light to the nations, you're going to be a secular scientist and mathematician? My friends, we mean something so much more than that. When we say that we're going to be a light to the nations, we mean something called monotheism. The fact to understand that there's one God, which comes along with that morality, which comes along with that the idea of ethics, which comes along, they're changing from the dark ages to living with civilization. And you talk about the concept that they said the Christians are running the world and type of thing. You're right about that, but you know where it comes from? Jews. It's called, when you talk about the Judeo-Christian value system, it's the Jewish value system that the Christians were kind enough to let our name stay there, that Christians threw in some other stuff, whatever it is. But it's an amazing concept of civilized life. Look at this quote over here. This is from the President of the United States, John Adams. But I first want to give a little bit of respect to the outgoing President, Joe Biden, because this is John Adams. But let me show you what Joe Biden said. Fine, now let's move on to John Adams. So John Adams says the following idea. He said, the second president of the United States, it was a little bit of a Looney Tune, but he said the following. I will insist that the Hebrews have done more to civilize men than any other nation. If I were an atheist that believed in blind eternal fate, I should still believe that fate had ordained the Jews to be the most essential instrument for civilizing the nations. If I were an atheist of the other sect, I should believe that chance had ordered the Jews to preserve and propagate to all mankind the doctrine of a supreme, intelligent, wise, almighty sovereign of the universe, which I believe to be the great essential principle of all morality and consequently of all civilization. They are the most glorious nation that ever inhabited this earth. The Romans and their emperor are but a bauble in comparison to the Jews. They've given religion to 3/4 of the globe and have influenced the affairs of mankind more and more happily than any other nation, ancient or modern. This quote over here is one of my favorite quotes. What a crazy idea to say. Again, a non-Jewish president of the United States saying, you want to know the top of the top? The Jews. They're the most incredible people ever. And we have people that are running away from Judaism. You out of your mind? And he says, you're not out of your mind, you're just uninformed. You're not familiar with like how powerful it is, how great it is. It's these things on.
So like, use the example of some of the things that Jewish people have brought into the world, right? What about the idea of a melech within the Jewish people, an example being like the Sackler family who pushed opioids on tens of millions of
I
people.
just want to be clear.
Yeah.
So you're asking the following question.
Okay.
So we have a lot of good, we also have there's bad.
Yeah.
So since there is bad, let's negate all the good.
No.
Moving along.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have the following. Right? You're not wrong. You're absolutely right. And Hitler did really good things too, but he was Hitler. You understand? The bottom line is that it's not that every bad is no good and every good is no bad. There's going to be people that do the wrong thing, unfortunately. That's just the reality. That's just the way the world works. You can't have perfection anyway. Then we go on to the last one. The last two is very briefly. We have what's known as interdependence. More accurate, take off the Y over there. Interdependence. You can say interdependency. It's not the right word. Interdependence. That's a connection between the land and the people. A connection to the land of Israel and the Jewish people. This is a little bit crazy. Take a look at the following. What did the land of Israel look like before the Jewish people made their way there? We're in Egypt. We are in, in Egypto. We're in slavery. I've come down to rescue them from Egypt's power and bring them out of the land to a good spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey. It's a halal. Halal, dvash, leche, miel. Ooh, deliciosa. We got the goods. The land look like. What happened? This beautiful land, for those who don't take it from the Torah, take it from Josephus. Josephus was a historian living at the time of the temple, and he was certainly not religious, by many accounts wasn't even Jewish. But he says the following idea. I'm not sure why he says that he wasn't Jewish. But he says the following concept. For the whole area is excellent for crops and pastures and rich in trees of every kind, so that by its fertility it invites even those least inclined to work in the land. The bottom line is it's a fertile crescent, it's a beautiful land, you can grow incredible stuff over there. When the Jewish people are there, it grows like crazy. What happens when the Jewish people leave the land of Israel?
It's a swamp.
This gorgeous land, beautiful land, even with some cows and horses apparently, even though this is probably Ohio or Omaha, right? What ends up happening is, it becomes, what happens when they leave? Don't think nobody tried to live here. Many people tried to live here. Byzantines, Babylonians, Mamelukes. Don't get me started in the Fatimids and the Abbasids. So many people tried to live here and tried to make it grow, and they were able to bring out enough food to survive, but it didn't become this flowing, growing, amazing, incredible place. But rather, this beautiful land became a barren. What happened? So devastated will I leave the land, that your enemies who live there will be astonished. Your land will remain desolate, and your cities in ruins. When we have this beautiful, gorgeous land, became a barren, desolate wasteland. That's not me, that's a quote from our boy Mark Twain, or I like to call Yellow Circle Head Boy. So there's a picture of Mark Twain coming to Israel in the year 1867. Now this is amazing to understand. You think like, wow, 1867 is a long time ago. It's just talking 150 some odd years ago. That's not that long ago in terms of history. Comes on Mark, and he says about the land of Israel. We traverse some miles of desolate country, whose soil is rich, but is given wholly to weeds, with an S. A silent, mournful experience. A desolation is here that not even imagination can grace with the pomp of life in action. We reached Timor safely. We never saw a human being on the whole route. We pressed on toward the goal of our crusade, renowned Jerusalem. The further we went, the hotter the sun got, the more rocky and bare, repulsive and dreary the landscape became. There was hardly a tree or shrub anywhere. Even the olive and cactus, those fast friends of a worthless soil, had almost deserted the country. No landscape exists that's more tiresome to the eye than which bounds the approaches to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is mournful, dreary, and lifeless. I would not desire to live here. It's a hopeless, dreary, heartbroken land. Palestine sits in sackcloth and ashes. Palestine is no more of this workaday world. It is sacred to poetry and tradition. It is dreamland. Is that correct? Would you say that Palestine today, that Israel is no more of this workaday world?
That is, can you say that Israel is no more what?
Of this workaday world? We're not part of the global economy? They're trying hard, BDS. They're trying whatever they can, drop the D, it's just BS. They're trying as hard as they can in order to knock us out. But the reality is, not only are we part of the global economy in terms of medicine, in terms of weapon, in terms of warfare, in terms of science and technology, but even in terms of agriculture, which is what the discussion is. There was essentially done in the year 2005-6 was when it came up. We're here again in Gaza, but there's something called Gush Katif. Gush Katif are the ones that are supplying the whole country with vegetables. Not only the whole country, they're exporting in upwards of $200 million a year in produce. That's a lot of cucumbers. You understand? We're talking that we're no more of this workaday world. We're very much part of this workaday world. Just in 1867 didn't look like that because we weren't really in the land of Israel. And we're going to come back to that in just a minute and see something which is pretty crazy over here. But look at this from the Native Americans. Imagine the Native Americans, they're living in America, and there they are, and the white man comes and says, oh no, the white man's coming. So what happens? The chief calls everyone together, and he says, land, when the white man arriveth, remain barren, desolate. Sprout fortheth, nothingeth. Little bear, small chief, big river, let's go. And we know from the moment the Native Americans left America, it has remained a barren, desolate wasteland. But that's not true. They built up America to become the superpower of the world, second only to China. But now we're getting it back, because of tariffs. Point is that it became, even making the jungle, the concrete jungle, into a crazy thing, it became an amazing, amazing power. So clearly you see, just because of people are gone, what happens over here? There's a relationship between the land of Israel and the people themselves. We're here, it sprouts, it grows. We leave, it finishes, it's over. You look at pictures of Israel, even 100 years ago, it looked like literally nothingness. Look at it today. There's still deserts, right? You know what they're doing in the deserts? They're growing on the deserts. Isn't a crazy concept of what's happening there? Last but not least, though, is we find return again, return and come back, I can hear him out, come back. What? Jewish people are going to come back to the land of Israel. Am Yisrael Kai. What does that mean that we're going to come back to the land of Israel? What's going on? Take a look at this quote over here from Deuteronomy. And the Lord your God shall return you from your captivity. Have compassion upon you, shall return to gather you from among all the nations. And Lord your God will bring you to the land that your fathers inherited. You will acquire it, and he will make you even more prosperous and numerous than your fathers. Or another quote from Jeremiah was, for thus says God, shout with joy for Jacob. Exalt at the head of the nations, proclaim your praise and sing, oh God, deliver your people, the remnant of Israel. Behold, I will bring them back from the northern lands and gather them from the ends of the world. And that is that the Jewish people are going to make their way back to the land of Israel. Anybody understand? How many people were kicked off the land and came back historically? Excellent, no one. What about twice? Right, no one. What about 3 times? You understand how crazy this is? Kicked off, came back, kicked out, came back, kicked out, what? They've been coming back. Oh, that was a crazy idea. Anybody know the percentage of the Jewish people that are living in the land of Israel in the year 1900? That's right, 0.5. Very good. At least someone's paying attention. Right, 0.5. How many Jews live in Israel today, percentage-wise? The answer is we're over 50%. This is not accurate because it was only a couple years ago, 40%. We're over 50%. Does anyone understand how phenomenal that is? Go back just to the Holocaust and go and you tell people you're going to be sitting opposite the Kotel, learning about Judaism. They'll be, boy, are you on crack, smack, BCB, LSD, weed, heroin, payout, what? And we're going to get to that in a minute. And he's like, out of your mind, there's no way. But here we are. The Jewish people took this land and came from this barren, desolate nothing and built it into this beautiful idea. You know why? Because we're coming home. See, it's an amazing thing to think about. Here we are, sitting opposite the Kotel discussing it. That's a crazy concept. Doesn't even make any sense. But when you take a look at everything that we've been through, pretty amazing concept. But there's really only one reason as per why I'm stalling. Because soon enough, we're gonna hit the piano solo. I'm coming home, they're coming home, tell your mom I'm coming. I don't know the words, but the point is that Jewish people are going to make their way back to the land of Israel. It's quite a phenomenal concept and kind of doesn't make any sense. Let's take a look at this entirety of what we just saw. We're going to be in a eternal nation, but we're going to be exiled and dispersed, few in number, hated by everyone, yet be led into the nations, have a relationship between us and the land, and come back. That, my friends, is a phenomenal. I want you to try to imagine for a moment. Some of you have been to you've been here for long enough, you've been to town, you went to like Ben Yehuda area. There's a place at the bottom called Crack Square. Have you heard of that place? This is called Crack Square. Now the reason it's called Crack Square is because the pavement is very uneven. There's a lot of cracks, and there's also people that do crack there. Now, I want you to just try to imagine you're standing there, okay? Come down with it. Jake, you're standing there at Crack Square. You know, you're doing your thing, you know, business, whatever. Seems like he's done this again. Yeah, I went to class. Right, so Jake, you're standing there at Crack Square. Suddenly this guy comes out of nowhere. And he's like, yo, escuches, papi, listen, tishma, tishma. We're gonna have it. Habibi, in 10 minutes, 10 minutos, 10 minutes, it's gonna be a little rumble, the ground's gonna open, 10 golden chariots are gonna pop out. They're gonna circle here 3 times, then they're gonna fly out. Listen. And then he walks away. What would you be thinking?
You must have something good.
Right. It's got the good stuff.
Yeah.
That good stuff. What would you then be thinking if 10 minutes later, the ground started to shake? You're like, oh my Dios, ¿qué es esto? Right? You take a step back, the ground opens up, 9 golden chariots pop out. You go, I thought 10. A 10th pops out. Circles you out 3 times and then flies away. And you didn't do cracks right because we asked you to weed heroin. You didn't even do payout, right? You didn't do that kind of stuff. You're totally sober. You didn't even have the yeshiva food. You're totally sober. What would you then be thinking, Jake? What would you then be thinking?
I'm peeking, not tweaking.
I don't even know what just happened. I'm not even sure. I'm gonna move on. What would you then be thinking? What's that? But you know, what would you think? Come on, people.
It's unreal. It's a miracle.
I mean, that guy knows something, right? That's pretty crazy that guy's pulled it off. Imagine you go to Crack Square and nobody says anything to you, but the ground opens up and take golden shower pop up. Would that be phenomenal?
Yeah.
What brings it above and beyond the first case? The fact that it was predicted before it happened. The fact that we're going to be a eternal nation, exile, dispersion, and we survive just from exile, dispersion, that alone, the Romans, Babylonians, the Timothy, the Abbasids, the Persians, the Greeks, the Byzantines, what happened to all of them? They're gone. You understand? The fact that we survive, that itself is crazy. Few in number survive, that itself is crazy. Anti-Semitism survive, that itself is crazy. Put the 3 together, it's a statistical anomaly. And then you go more than going to be a life history, return, that's a statistical impossibility. They're clearly not. If that would happen by itself, it would have been amazing. What brings it above and beyond, though?
Sid.
The fact that this was all predicted beforehand. So when I asked you from the beginning of the class, this book that we have called the Torah either came from something supernatural or came from a group of individuals, people, whatever it is. And I said to you, I'm going to try to show you it came from people. I think after this presentation, we can clearly see that it doesn't make no sense. It doesn't make no sense that anyone could have predicted this, or they would have even said it. It contradicts the fact that we're going to be an eternal nation. And yet here we are today, after so many years, and history is the barometer of truth. At the time this actually occurred, Mount Sinai, when it happened, the Jews didn't need to be proven to that it happened because they experienced it. But here we are thousands of years later, and we need to be able to see, how do we know? And to take a look over the last 3,000 years, history is the barometer of truth, and all these things are playing out. Maybe 150 years later, they would have a question. Here, 3,300 some odd years, or 37 years ago, later, we get to take a look and see all these things play out. And indeed showing that the hand that wrote this book is none other than the hand of the Lord Almighty himself. And with that, my friends, I end 27 minutes late, and that's why I want to thank you all for being here. It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye.